Before we get started, I wanted to thank everyone for the encouraging comments I've been receiving. They really motivate me to keep working on the series, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of the support. I do my best to respond to every comment I receive as soon as possible. Let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you. I would really appreciate it if you guys took the time to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot to cover in this episode, so let's get started.
This afternoon, the firewall of the Information Bureau's Information Control Center was cracked by some unnamed renegade party. As a result, the information network system of the Wired is in total disarray. And furthermore, be advised that although it is actually a live broadcast and is being sent out at this very moment, it is quite possible that it may arrive tomorrow, right now, or perhaps yesterday.
It looks like the Knights did it again. Knights? Who's that?
Knights, a mysterious group of mathematical knights said to have great influence in the Wired. Members of this group are unknown at this time. They are not only involved in information manipulation, they've also been linked to the development and distribution of illegal information devices.
I hear that somebody's after Lain.
Lain? Who's that?
Lain. Search has no matches and no documentation on record.
I haven't seen Lain around lately. Who the hell is Lain?
She's a young girl.
A young girl? She's very powerful. How do you mean?
Her metaphorize, her will, her power, the light in her eyes, her existence.
Hey, can I ask you something?
What is it?
I was just wondering. You wouldn't happen to be a Knights member, would you?
Our story begins when Lain is called to action by Chisa, saying that she should kill herself and upload her consciousness to the internet. Although Lain doesn't kill herself, she does follow this call to action when she's given the psyche processor by the Knights or the better computer from her dad. However, she still seems isolated and lonely. We see her having conversations over the internet, but we can't hear their responses.
Not that. No, that is wrong. I'm just watching. Because when I get inside of the Wired... That's right. It's becoming less and less like me, it seems. I don't honestly know. What? Who do you mean?
We see Mika's lips moving, but we can't understand what she's saying.
I can't figure out Mika lately. Right. Fine. Suit yourself.
Classroom, or in old language a couple thousand years ago, disciples. Those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
This episode is titled Society, and within it we are introduced to a diverse group of people. Each of them has a completely different lifestyle, which shows how we each have a different way of interacting with our society based on our own perspectives and backgrounds. Although these people may seem unrelated, they actually form a society. A secret society. The Knights. The Knights can be seen as symbolic representation of online communities such as Reddit and Discord, and the armies of trolls that exist and execute covert missions such as Anonymous and Poll. However, they also resemble religious organizations, one that believes that transcendence can be found by tearing down the barrier between the real world and the Wired. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's almost identical to the rhetoric from the Heaven's Gate video I showed you at the beginning of the segment. The only difference is that in Heaven's Gate they believe that they're going to board a spaceship instead of trying to upload their consciousness to the internet.
I know what you mean. The real world and the Wired are linear in their connections. I can exist anywhere that I desire. No matter where my body is at any particular time, I can release my consciousness anywhere I want, anytime I want.
This man is trying to join the Knights. Seemingly anyone can become a knight provided they have the skills and the connections.
Society, Layer 07.
Our first knight is a businessman whose relation to society is a position of power. We can assume that he's well received by his society. He wears a suit. He runs a company. He abides by social norms and is merely using the knights to expand his power beyond the financial sector.
So, what game do you want to play this time?
Our next member of the knights, however, is a neat.
Try this.
A shut-in. The knights presumably give his life purpose and allow him to feel superior to others in spite of him being an unemployed, overweight hoarder.
I'm better than all you bozos.
Our last knight is a housewife.
Hey, Mom, can I go over to Kenya's to play later? I won't be out late.
If you're going to play a game, can't you just play it over the net?
But Mom, I have to be there. He's gonna teach me how to play it.
To her, the knights are an empowering hobby.
The Wired is really the same thing as the real world.
I don't want to be here. You understand all the reasons, don't you? Just look at all I can do. It's unbelievable how far I'm traveling into it. Look at all of this. I'm finally breaking down the barrier between the real world and the world inside the Wired. Come on, I think I'm pretty qualified. You just have to give me the chance. I can handle anything you can throw at me. Let me into the Knights. You're pretty impressed, huh? I tracked you down all by myself without any assistance. This is your dedicated secret channel, isn't that right? Come on, won't you make me one of you? Who are you?
Despite the knights being completely different, they are united by a shared set of beliefs. They are a society whose culture dictates that the boundary between the Wired and reality does not and should not exist. I think this is meant to show us that the knights' ideology, their secret society, their religion, could be adopted by anyone, regardless of their standing in society. It illustrates how the internet could create a movement that unites various social classes behind a single ideological banner. Do you use your smartphone when you're not on your computer? When you aren't on your smartphone, are you browsing the internet or gaming online? Have you ever purchased a smartwatch or a tablet to make access more convenient? We ourselves are members of the Knights seeking to erase the boundary between the digital and physical world. This is an ideology that has created a digital society which transcends class, race, gender, and religion. Lain doesn't fit into her society. Her exploration into the Knights have isolated her from her physical connections, and Alice is the only remaining connection Lain has to the physical world. She's her only friend. In this scene, Lain begins to show how the Knight's ideology is beginning to influence her perspective, and notice how Alice, our perspective of a normal girl in this universe, responds.
The real world out there isn't actually real at all.
Lain? Are you okay?
Lain has changed. She is no longer the innocent girl in a bear suit who has no idea what email is. The relationship between mental health and the Wired is also explored. Is Lain just nuts, or has the internet created fractures in her identity? Lain is constantly impersonated, antagonized from unseen, anonymous voices. She's just a lonely girl who adults are constantly trying to manipulate to further their own agendas. Lain is a victim of cyberbullying, identity theft, but this isn't because she's helpless. It's basically because she's the equivalent of a cybersecurity influencer. Her notoriety and fame have subjected her to stalking and harassment from not only the Knights, but the Men in Black. We're finally about to learn more about the mysterious Men in Black who have been stalking Lain and saved her from the Knight's parasite bomb attack. The explosion from the previous episode.
What do you want?
Good day, Lain Iwakura.
would you please walk this way and step into the car?
We promise not to force you in. This is simply a request.
We have no intention of causing you any physical harm. You can trust us. You have my word on it.
A pet theory of mine is that there's something going on between Lain and this guy with the blue eyes. Nothing ever happens, but just look at these shots.
It's him.
If you promise to come along with us quietly,
oh, he's so sexy. Yes, sir. I'd do anything for him. I'd submit to him. Control me.
The men in black work for Tachibana Labs, which are trying to stop the Knights.
Could you come here for a minute? I can't get the main office's firewall system to recognize this machine. I've done everything I can on the application end of things. It's hopeless, with an old machine like this one I've got here. But I've gotten so used to using this thing, I just can't work up the interest to switch to a new Navi, I guess. No, not at my age. But I tell you, if I were as young as you...
That jumper over there.
Huh?
Try removing this jumper and that jumper over there.
I'm sorry, but could you possibly do it for me, please?
Authorized.
Well...
So, Lain, are you of the Knights? You are, aren't you, Lain? I had no idea!
You moron!
Oh, wait, please listen to me. That game, the one you've been playing with the kids lately, is the greatest. You gotta get me in on the action. You're the only one I can turn to. Just cut me a break. Just this one time, Lain. But I have a better idea. Please make me one of you. Make me a knight, I beg you. Please make me one of you.
We discover that Lain has something to do with Phantoma.
Some say the Wired doesn't have political borders like the real world. But with this freedom, there is a price to pay. I'm talking about nonsense-spouting anarchists and idiots who think a lot of pranks add up to a revolution. The Knights are quite different. They don't seem to be anarchists or idiots at all.
The Knights...
I'm not sure if you're totally aware of the power that you have inside of you, Lain. You should know your presence in the Wired is an extremely unnatural and disturbing phenomenon.
It's
the
him.
Knights are interested in you.
He's so
for what reason
sexy.
we haven't figured out yet.
Yes,
but they're out
sir.
there watching.
I don't understand what you're saying.
The Knights. I understand, Lain, that you've spoken directly to them at one point.
But I don't ever remember.
At any rate, from the looks of it, it appears that they want to accomplish something by using you. And we believe, Lain, that that is something that must be prevented no matter what the cost may be.
Who are you? What are you people?
My name. It's totally meaningless to know my real name. These gentlemen and I don't actually have names that would mean anything to you. Now, I have to know something. Tell me, Lain Iwakura, are you and the Lain in the Wired in reality one and the same person? Who are you, Lain?
I'm...
Do you know if your parents are truly your real parents? Is your sister your real sister?
What are you asking me? Of course, certainly.
How about your father's birthday? Can you tell me when that is?
Well, sure. Dad's birthday.
And how about your mother's birthday? Do you know when that is? Do you have any idea when your parents were married? Did they meet or was it arranged?
That's something I really don't know. That's because I...
How could you not know? You never even asked, did you? You never celebrated a birthday in your family that you can remember. How about when you were a little girl? Not even then? When and where were you born, Lain?
What does it matter?
You don't know. You don't know any of it. Are you okay? Are you certain that you have nothing to tell me?
We're about to see Lain's digital persona cross into the physical realm.
Why don't you shut up? Who the hell cares about any of that old crap anyway? Don't waste my time.
I see. You're Lain of the Wired, aren't you?
What if I am?
Even without a device, you must be aware that barring some unforeseen miracle, the border between the real world and the world of the Wired is starting to crumble.
Yeah, so what?
We are also of the opinion that this is extremely dangerous.
Sounds very interesting. Huh.
Similar to the scene in Siberia, this is meant to show us that the Lain of the Wired and the Lain in reality are actually the same person. We now also have confirmation that the digital Lain is working with the Knights. Some consider this the introduction of a third personality for Lain. While we know the digital Lain is a little spicy, she doesn't seem nearly as willing to kill people as antagonist Lain. Digital Lain was giving people attitude while looking into what the Knights were doing, while antagonist Lain is the essential piece of the prophecy that is breaking the boundary between the Wired and reality. She herself is playing Phantoma with the kids. I think this can also be tied into mental health. Sigmund Freud, an Australian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, believed that the basis of a society is when two people need to create rules so they don't start killing each other. The relation between social etiquette and our individual desires can lead to a clash, which is what results in a mental illness. A majority of Lain's behavior, if taken out of context from the anime, would fit into the criteria for a diagnosis from the DSM-5, which for those that don't know is the actual book that psychologists use to diagnose people. We also learn more about the relationship between Lain and her family. They've always been cold and distant throughout the series, and now we discover that they may not even be her real family. You then have to wonder why her dad wanted her to get so much more involved in the Wired. We'll get better answers to what exactly Lain is and the relationship between her and her family in future episodes. For now, we have the homeless man trying to join the Knights. He thinks he understands their ideology because he's found a way to blend reality and the Wired together. He's created something similar to Google Glasses that allow him to use the internet while walking around and seeing reality at the same time. This is not what the Knights are trying to accomplish. Pay close attention to the dialogue in this scene. We'll see what the Knights think of his interpretation of their ideology and his invention.
Your secret's safe with me, you bet. It's true you believe in Deus and all he stands for, is that right? I'll follow your lead then. But wait, is it really true? Is God really in the Wired, or is it a rumor? I'm not quite ready to believe in all that yet. But if you let me join you, I'll certainly be able to learn more, don't you think? Then I'll be able to believe anything you want me to believe. I'll believe you. What? Is that really you? You came for me, right? You came to pick me up?
The Knights come from many different backgrounds and have many different perspectives. But in this episode, the only thing that united them was their shared disapproval for what this man stood for. Lain is beginning to have doubts. She, like many children, is naive and has a predisposition towards trusting others automatically. The internet has thrust Lain into the adult world, where those are weaknesses that can be exploited. Did the Knights, her friends, try to kill her? Is her family her real family? Why is a version of herself working with the Knights, playing Phantoma with kids? The Lain of the Wired doesn't seem to be the same as the Lain working with the Knights.